Hi. Okay. Welcome back to the Elyse DeLucci show. I'm Elyse DeLucci, your host, and we are broadcasting live from my living room in Manhattan on the Upper East Side. Today, we're talking about what do you do the morning after you have a big fight with your boyfriend or your husband? This is the worst. You get into a fight in the night, you're sitting on the couch, you're arguing, and the next morning, who the hell knows what to do? Do you talk to them? Do you text them? We're talking about that. We're talking about, is sex a deal breaker? If you've been married for 15 years and you're not doing it, is that a deal breaker? Or how about if you meet a guy and he's wonderful and the sex is horrible? Are you leaving? You're staying? We're also talking about the 5 languages of love. This is something I learned recently. It's a relationship game changer. And also my favorite face mask I found on Amazon a couple of years ago. It's a clay face mask. You're going to love it. So we're talking about all that stuff. Take a sip of your drink. Stay tuned. And I hope you enjoy talking with me, Elyse, your bestie. Fact of the day. Do you know your thumb is the same length as your nose? I know. Are you all now picking up your thumb and measuring it against your? I am. Isn't that so funny? I don't know what the reason is, but I read it. I read it on a fact sheet, and I thought I don't know if it's evolutionary reasons, but that's the deal. So how are you? How was your week? My week's okay. I got an apartment. I got a notice slipped under my apartment door the other night, and Halloween's canceled. I mean, is that a surprise if you live in New York? Mayor de Blasio canceled Halloween. I mean, these poor kids, right? These poor kids. But the icing on the cake was that they slipped a note under the apartment door saying, our apartment is not going to be partaking in any Halloween activities. And if you don't live in Manhattan, trick-or-treating and Halloween for the kids is kind of funny because you trick-or-treat inside the apartment buildings. It's not like you go house to house and get like the king-size candy bars. Like you go in apartment to apartment. But in fairness, you can hit a lot of doors because there's always a lot of apartments on the floor. But and then also kids trick-or-treating at the stores, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it's canceled. I feel bad. I feel bad for my girls. My daughters, they're young. And the other night we were in Marshalls, and they have the cutest Halloween costumes in there, by the way. If you go to Party City and you look at Halloween costumes, they want like $50 for a pirate costume that looks like it's going to break 2 seconds. The second you walk out of the door, that pirate costume is dead, done. But in Marshalls, they have the most beautiful costumes there. They look like couture costumes. They're like $24.99, which could be expensive for a Halloween costume, but not when you're comparing it to the ridiculous prices that you look on Party City online or in the store. But these poor kids, they're like, Mommy, I want to be a mermaid. Yes, my kids have British accents. And it's like, you want to be a mermaid, where are you going? So anyway, I had this great idea. I'm going to do a party for them in the house. No friends, just us. I'm going to decorate the house, have cobwebs around. I'm going to get Halloween candy. I might have already bought it already. I might have already been half eaten the bag, but that's okay. I'm going to hide the Halloween candy all around the house. They're going to go find it like an Easter egg thing, but with a Halloween spin. Maybe I'll do bobbing for apples. I just feel like something has to be cute for them, especially if you have young kids. It's like, that's the magic of being young. What, your kids gonna, my girls, they're still little, like I said, but what are they gonna turn 9? And they're like, oh, remember that miserable Halloween? We did nothing. We sat on the couch and we watched Charlie Brown's Big Pumpkin. No, so that's what I'm gonna do. I don't know. What are you doing? Is your neighborhood canceling Halloween? Is it on? I'm curious to know. And it's like also, with COVID, like even if the Halloween is on, are you really going to go and take candy from your neighbor? Like, sometimes like these grandmas, they're like licking those plastic bags out of the bucket and then throwing them in your kids', Halloween pillowcase. Like you want that? Do you want that? So, you know what I want to tell you? Business casual. Okay, a lot of people are back to work. If you live in Manhattan, a lot of people aren't back to work. I am back to work. And so if you're back to work, you're in an office. And some of the offices, they're being great right now. They're saying, you don't worry about work clothes. Don't worry about a suit and a skirt and pumps and all that ridiculous stuff. Business casual. Or, even jeans and like a shirt that's not ripped. Well, what do you think about business casual but no jeans? All right, that's a situation I'm dealing with. Business casual and no jeans. I think that sounds like work clothes to me, don't you? I mean, like, this isn't working, girl. This isn't 1989. No one's wearing power suits anymore with the shoulder pads. So what do I normally wear to work? When it's normal work attire, I wear it like a tank, a cardigan, a modest earring, no hoops with my name in them, and, like a pair of slacks, and maybe like a loafers and a shoe. Or I'm wearing a skirt and tights and a turtleneck or something. That's what I wear. And guess what I'm wearing now for business casual? The same damn thing. Business casual. But it's like, why not jeans? why aren't you letting us wear jeans? I didn't want to ask. I don't want to have balls like that. But it's like, what do you think? We're going to show up in like Jinko jeans? You remember those skater jeans from like the 90s or early 2000s? Or wait, you think we're going to come in with Home Depot style jeans with like the hammer hanger on the on the side, or like cargo jeans? Like it's ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Like I wanted to say to my job, newsflash, you could get a gorgeous pair of jeans at the Gap, a dark wash, a boot cut, or a cigarette slim sort of pant with a ballet flat and a blazer and a nice top. You're done. You look gorgeous. But you know what? You can't complain with the person that's signing your paycheck. I learned that the hard way. So I don't know if you're doing business casual. And by the way, again, curious to know about your neighborhood, but in my neighborhood where I live, the dry cleaners are closed. So it's like, how do you expect me to wash these pants from Banana Republic that I have to wear on our business casual work, if for business casual working? Like, shall I get out my washboard and wash them? I mean, my dry cleaner's not even open. It's a pandemic. Cut us a little slack, Anyway. So, you have a boyfriend, a husband, or you've been in a relationship. It's inevitable that people get into fights, right? It's healthy to fight. It is healthy to fight. I had a therapist once that's like, it's not healthy to fight, Elyse. It's not healthy. I'm like, oh, give me a break. If you're not fighting, please, it's completely healthy. But it's like, I think that what happens when you have these massive blowouts and then the next morning, it's like awkward, especially if you're not married. Like if you're not married, if you're just dating and you're hanging out and you pause the movie because something's annoying you and you tell the person, the guy, and then all of a sudden it turns into a 2-hour debacle, and then he storms out, or just everything blows up, however it winds up ending. The next morning when you wake up, in your bed, obviously by yourself, it's like, well, what do you do? Do you text him, hi, sweetie? Or, oh, I'm sorry. And, I don't know. But, what I do know is that what happens during the argument, what's said during the argument is just as important, I think, as what happens after the argument. Like, you could, if you're going to be respectful during the argument, which you should be respectful, I think after you should also be respectful. If you're going to be a fucking bitch during the argument, I'm not saying you should be a fucking bitch after, but I'm saying, I think that what happens after the argument is almost as important, because you don't want to give somebody the cold shoulder, for days. It's miserable, if you're in a mature relationship, I don't know. But someone told me, a girlfriend told me, she had a really cute thing that she does if when she gets into an argument with her boyfriend. Hilarious. She's an argumentative troll, that one. I love her, but she argues with everybody. So she said, if I get into an argument, at least this is what I say. I'm like, yeah, you're like pulling his hair out every night. Who you kidding? Anyway, it's like, she says to him, she'll text him, I just want to check on you. I don't know if you're ready to talk, but when you are, I'd love to reconnect and discuss or put an end to it. And I think that's a really nice thing to say. I'm going to use that. I haven't used it yet, but I think like I just want to check on you, see how you're doing. Do you want to talk? Are you okay? Let me know when it's good for you. And that's if you're instigating the argument, or so it's that time of the month and you're just going at it like a wild boar. Like if you're doing it, you have to send that kind of text. Now, if they do it, I don't know, that's a different story. But I think that after the argument, letting your partner know that you love them, you're still there, acknowledging that the fight's temporary and, you're still committed to the relationship and you're still moving forward in the relationship. You just had a little blip. It's normal, right? I think if you kind of phrase it like that, I think that that's good. Like, I mean, I didn't have the best arguing skills when I was married. I'm divorced, right? And I didn't have the best arguing skills. And it's not that my ex and I weren't educated. Look, we went to therapy, we did everything, but it's like we had those kind of combustible personalities. Now, in new relationships, I've learned, and as I got older and as I read and I go to therapy on my own, it's really like being precious about your relationship. Like it's just like, if you love somebody and they love you, it's really like a beautiful thing. You want to be nice about it. I'm not saying you can't rip his effing head off because he's like being a jerk to you sometimes. Yeah, you can. But I think after, to like, put the Band-Aid on and just say it's all going to be okay. And that's over with, move on. I think it's good. So I was reading about really like what experts say about what do you do the morning after. And they say that you should communicate sincerely, and that's always obviously key to happy and healthy relationships. You ask any couple that's married for 1,000 years, they'll tell you communication is what kept them together. The experts say avoid giving the other person the cold shoulder. Don't prolong the fight. I am at fault for this. Like if the fight happens in my house, and it doesn't get resolved next morning, I'm up like a bad girl and I'm right back at it. I want to know what you said last night. Tell me. I'm crazy. But it's like, you can't do it. I don't do that anymore, but you can't prolong the fight. They also say when you're arguing or even the morning after the argument, like think about the good times. Like think like, oh my God, like we went to that amazing Broadway show, 6 months ago, or oh my God, he wrote me this beautiful card, for Valentine's Day. Like think about those good times and think about why you love him. They say also to see things from their point of view. I know that that's hard. Sometimes that's hard for me, especially depending on what you're talking about. If you're really talking about something heated and you really feel like you're standing your ground, that's hard. And they say acknowledge that you're part of the argument. Acknowledge that you're part of the argument. And I think that that's something that I work on. It's like if we get into an argument, and even if he's the one that instigates it and I'm still participating, like the next day, if we talk about it, I have to say, like, listen, I said X, Y, and Z, or maybe I wasn't, maybe I didn't have a great reaction when, you sort of came at me. I think that acknowledging that you're there, it lessens the blow, I did read, though, that you're not supposed to just apologize. When I was young, I was pathetic. I'd write, next morning I'd be texting. Well, I don't even know. I don't know how long ago, how young I was, because I don't know if texting was around. But it was like, I'm not ancient, by the way. But it's like, I would be like, I'm so sorry. Oh, my God, I love you so much. I'm so sorry. Oh, my God, like, I never want to argue with you again. Meanwhile, it was like never my fault, But they say don't do that. Like they say, if you want to say sorry, just say sorry for like one specific thing. One little thing. Don't give him the whole freaking sorry show. Like he doesn't need that, Anyway, let's talk about sex, right? My mother's going to hear this. She's going to be like, what the hell are you doing talking about sex, Elyse? And it's not like I'm talking about bondage and anal toys. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. I mean, we could talk about that another time. Sorry, Mom. But is that a deal breaker? Is sex a deal breaker in your relationship? Like sex without lust? What about sex without an orgasm? I know. I know you're cringing. Just please get over it. You know what? I read this thing and I think it's good. I want to tell you what it says. It says sex is 10% of a good relationship and 90% of a bad one. Meaning, obviously, is that if the sex is good, you have a great relationship, it's it's not everything. You're like, yeah, the sex is good. There's other things we could work on. It's only 10% of the relationship. But if the sex is bad, or there's a lack of sex, it becomes 90% of the relationship. And of course it does. Of course it does. Because if you have shitty sex, or you got some bum that's not looking to get it on, all of a sudden you're fixated on it. Then you sit in at girls' night and you're talking to your friends and they're talking about all these escapades, how they got their groove back after they had their baby. And you're sitting there thinking the last time I had sex was, I don't know, in 2002. Like, and so I get that. Sex is 10% of a good relationship, 90% of a bad one. In my past marriage, we had issues in that department. Listen, and he was a great guy. I'm not just saying that. He really was a great guy. But I don't know how compatible we were in that department. Like, we had good times, but our sex drives changed as times went on. And that's obviously because women have a higher sex drive than men. Men hit their sexual peak, I think, at like 17, and women are like 35 and swinging from the chandelier, trying to be a burlesque star, like, where's my crotchless panties? And the guy's like, ew, because he's so over that. But I guess that's why older women try to get with younger men. But my point is that when I was married, we had those problems. I wanted to do it more than he did. I was more up for adventurous things than he was. And again, great guy, but that was a problem. And I did become fixated on that. I did. Every time we got into an argument, I was terrible. F what I just said about all these argument rules. When we would get into an argument, I'd be like, yeah, and you don't even want to F me, and I would say fuck me, but I'm sure my mother's listening. So, it's like, and that would, and it's all because it's all resentment, and some couples are great. Like they just have a great sex life and they have just no issues in that department. But, one of my best friends says, my best friend Stephanie, hi Steffi, if you're listening, but she always says, she's like, one of these girls, she's wise beyond her years. We're the same age, but wise beyond her years. And she says, sex is the glue that keeps a relationship together. And I really think that. Like, do you think that? Because I do. I think if you guys go off in your day and you go to work and you do all the shit you got to do, and then you come back home at night, and even if it's a couple times a week, you do and the do, like, it brings you back together. They say it's the glue that keeps you together. And, I think she heard that from one of her older relatives. And I really think it's brilliant. And they say it's because sex, it builds a bond, it builds the intimacy, passion. And when you have a sexless marriage, like, it can create intimacy issues. And I'm not going to sit here and say I had a sexless marriage because, whatever. But if you do, I'm very empathetic towards that. And I really feel your pain. And I'm not saying that. I'm saying because I've like been there, done that. But it's like when you don't have sex often, or the man doesn't desire you like that often, I just think that you start to think, well, maybe it's me. Like, is there something wrong? And I got to be honest with you. Like, when I got divorced, I was like, I'm getting plastic surgery. That's it. Because I didn't have that kind of, but nobody was lusting after me. My husband wasn't lusting after me. I don't know what men thought around my office, but, my husband wasn't lusting after me. So then I thought, of course, something's wrong with me. And I'm not an insecure person. I think it just breeds insecurity. No sex breeds insecurity. And by the way, so it's like, so, okay. So, and not even by the way. So it's like, here's the thing. So would you stay in a sexless marriage? Like, would you stay, I remember when I was talking to my mother about, divorce, and I told her what was going on, and she was like, sex isn't everything, Elyse, it's not everything. And I'm like, no, it's not everything, but to me, it's like actually important. And I'm sorry, I don't want to walk around dried up Venus flytrap, desperate for sex, like from anyone. Like, no, it wasn't important to me. Would you stay in a relationship like that? And if you're not married, by the way, fuck it, because there's tons of men. Who gives a shit? You could go find anybody. But, I don't know. I mean, when you have kids and they've gone through college and they're older, and you have your house and your house is almost paid off, or you have your apartment that you've been renting forever, and and you have the 30 years, you're 30 years deep, and then the sex goes, well, fine, then then go take a sex class together. I get that, and I don't think then you should leave in that case. But I think if it's a young relationship, not a marriage, or if it's a young marriage and you're really having problems at the apartment, life is short. Like, that is an awful and resentful way, in my opinion, to spend your days. Like, if you're a sexual person and you want to have some fun with your spouse, because you can't have fun with other people. You said your vows. That's it. You're done. This is the person you're doing to do it for the rest of your life. So why wouldn't I want to do it then with you? I would become resentful. I did. And you know what? And then they say, if you become resentful because of sex issues, that also then has a trickle-down effect. It affects the kids, and then you start to spend less time in the house because maybe you're filling the void of sex with other things. Maybe you're eating too many disco fries at the diner. By the way, French fries with mozzarella and gravy. If you never had them, get them, delicious. I sitting at the diner too long. Maybe you're going out shopping. You spend too much time in TJ Maxx because you're just trying to fill that void. It's like nothing's going to fill the hole, but they say it has this trickle-down effect. It affects the kids. Next thing you know, you're forgetting dog walks. So for me personally, I can't do it. Maybe you can. And I don't think that makes me I don't think that makes me shallow or like, I don't even know if it's shallow or superficial, but someone would be like, oh, there's more to life than sex, darling. And you want to know what? Yeah, there is more to life than sex, but I also want some dirty dog fun. Why shouldn't we have that? Anyway, do you guys know about love languages? You know about this? I'm new to this. I feel like you probably know it. Everybody I mention this to know that. Tell them, like, what's his love language? They all know about this. I'm totally new to it. So there's this guy, Gary Chapman. He wrote this book, and I have it right in front of me. Let me grab it. It's called The 5 Love Languages: The Secret to Love That Lasts. If you go on Amazon, you can get it on Amazon. It's like $9. The 5 Love Languages: The Secret to Love That Lasts by Gary Chapman. It's a New York Times bestseller. It's a thin book. It's an easy read. And basically what it is, if you don't know, it's like we as people, as humans, we have 5 love languages. There's 5 love languages that exist according to Gary Chapman, and everyone has one or more of these love languages. And his theory, which I'm sold into now completely, is that once you know your love language, and once you know your partner's love language, your relationship becomes so much easier because you know which language they're speaking to express their love. So it's like, these are the 5 love languages. Words of affirmation, that you need to be told things, hear things a lot. Words of affirmation. Quality time, number 2. Receiving gifts, number 3. Number 4, acts of service. And number 5, touch. And I mean, I feel like everybody could. I'm all of them. I'm all of those things. But think about it. Like for me, number one, words of affirmation. Listen, I'm a talker. Clearly, I'm doing a podcast. I'm a talker. I like to talk. I want to hear things back to me. I don't want you to sit on the couch and grunt, and that's how you show your love for me. No, if you know that I like words, and that's one of my love languages, I want you to use your words and talk to me. And even if I have to tell you like a toddler, use your words, tell me how you feel, tell me that I look pretty. I want to hear it. And it doesn't have to even be talking, by the way. That like words of affirmation. It could be like them leaving you a voice message or writing you a note or sending you a cute text. It's just some sort of written, verbal, word communication. 2, quality time. And they say for this one, Gary Chapman says that it's just about giving your partner 100% undivided time, 100% undivided attention. No TV, no cell phones, no texting, no TikTok, no nothing. Just you guys together spending time one-on-one. And I think that everyone likes that, in my opinion. I think that that's important, of course, for a relationship, especially as life goes on and there's all that noise that goes on with it. But quality time, I know, is important for a lot of women, but I also think it's important for men because a lot of men feel like if they're there, men feel like, well, I'm there. Just because I didn't tell you that you look gorgeous, I still was there. It's like just because they think that they're there. I don't know why all of my voices sound like a caveman. It's probably because I'm Italian, but that's besides the point. But you're a meatball slinging, t-shirt wearing caveman. Anyway, not my boyfriend. He's not like that. He's great. But it's like quality time. A lot of men feel like that, if they're there, that they're like showing you they love you, but they might not know that that's not your love language. So then there's a wires cross. So then you're like, I don't feel like you love me. And he's like, yeah, well, I do because I was there. And you're like, no, that doesn't matter. And if you knew that words of affirmation were your love language, you say. So anyway, number 3, receiving gifts. I like presents. I don't care how that sounds. I don't give a shit. I know that sounds crazy. Look, I could go into CVS and buy myself a box of Russell Stover chocolates. I could go to Macy's and buy myself something if I want. But I think it's cute when the guy gives you a little present. It doesn't have to be much. It could be a box of ho-hos, or better yet, funny bones, because those are hard to find. But if you just come over, or we're married, and you just come home with a little something for me, I think that that's so nice. It's kind of like the actions speak louder than words version, right? And it's not doing things. It's giving you a little something. And even, again, same thing. Even if they're coloring a picture in the coloring book, it's that giving. I like that. Number 4, acts of service. This is another guy one, Some women are like this too, particularly in the kitchen department. They're like, well, I show my love through food. I know that I show my love. I know the way I demonstrate my love for the man is through cooking and doing that stuff in the kitchen. So it's like, I know, but men also feel like that. Men feel like they show their love for women, a lot of men, by doing things. They're like, oh, you need me to screw anything in? Like, oh, you need me to WD-40 a sliding glass door? Like, they do that, and they feel like they're so ridiculous, guys. Isn't it ridiculous? That gives them a little pat on the back, like, oh yeah, you're a big strong man, aren't you? And they're also doing something for you, but it's that big strong man, yay! But they're also doing it for you, and that's how they show you that they love you. Like, I was dating this guy once, and he was just completely, I don't even know what the hell he was doing. He was insane. He was insane. He didn't ever give me anything. God forbid the guy paid for a cup of coffee. I don't even know what I was doing with him. I think I was just lonely. I don't know. But he did help me fix a few things a couple times. And when we broke up, he's like, yo, why are you breaking up with me? I don't understand. And I was like, listen, I'm not breaking up with you. Like, we could still be friends, but I was like, I'm sorry. I don't feel like you're into me, and I'm not really into this way about you. And he was like, what do you mean I'm not into you? Like, I do things for you. And I'm thinking, is that how you show me? Because we're not communicating. So acts of service. And then the last one, physical touch, number 5. This kind of goes back into the sex thing. It's not physical touch doesn't only mean, sex, but physical touch. Are you the kind of person that needs to have your arm around you? The guy has to have his arm around you, and for you to know that he loves you. I'm not really like that. Like, if we're watching the Titanic on the couch and you're sitting next to me and you're putting your arm around me for the next 3 hours, I'm gonna barf all over you. I'm so done with you. Like, I just, it's too much for me. It's just too much. I like touch. I like the occasional cuddle, but whatever. But the point is that Gary Chapman, the author of the book, says that everyone expresses love differently. And you can sum it all up into these 5 different buckets of how people express their love. And if you're aware of the other person's love language and they are aware of yours, it can help you and them understand the relationship better. And I like it. The book is good. I think that you should get it. The cover is hideous. I mean, by the way, I'm looking at it. It's a purple cover. You're gonna go on Amazon. You're like, is this the book she was talking about? It looks like a novel, like a fiction novel from the 80s. It's a cover with a purple cover, faded sunset, couple holding each other in the lover's embrace. So nauseous. But the book is good. I recommend it. So okay, let me tell you about this product. I don't know if you know this. Do you like face masks, by the way? Face masks? I love face masks. I don't do them a lot. As I got older, I don't do them a lot. But when I was younger, I used to love them. I used to do an egg white face mask. Did you ever do that? You just take the egg whites and you put it on your face and let it like dry up, and then you wipe it off and your face is like kind of taut. I used to like that. Meanwhile, at 12, like who needs a taut face, but whatever. So anyway, I like to buy masks from time to time, but the older I get, I feel like they're just expensive. The drugstore stuff, I don't know how much I trust. And then a friend told me about this mask on Amazon called Aztec Secret Indian Healing Clay. I know, it sounds a little hokey. It's not, I swear, it's not. It's 1 pound. It's a 1 pound tub of powder. I have it in my bathroom. In fact, I have to have it under my sink because I can't even keep it in my medicine cabinet because it's so big. It's 1 pound of this grayish greenish powder, and you mix it with a little water. I mix it with water, or they also say mix it with a little apple cider vinegar, and you only need like the tiniest little amount, like a teaspoon, a tablespoon even. And you put it on your face, and it dries. It obviously dries and it hardens. And I swear to God, my pores shrink to nothing. And I'm not kidding you. When you go on Amazon, you find this thing, Aztec Secret Indian Healing Clay. I'm literally looking at it, so you could Google, like put it in there. No, you're gonna see. There's like 10,000 reviews for it. I swear, 10,000 reviews. Everybody's loving this thing. Apparently, it's been around forever, and it's cheap, and it's cheerful, and it makes a great gift. I think it's so cute. If you have to get your girlfriend a little something for her birthday, or if you're having a little bachelorette party, and you want to do something cute for the girls, you're having a little bachelorette sleepover, get a few tubs of this, put a little bow on it. How fun is that? Honestly, I really love this. And I have big pores. It's not something I like. I do not like this. I don't go to get a facial often, but if I do go, I'll go to this place, Mario Badescu in the city, which I really should stop going there because I feel like they do extractions and like it hurts and all this stuff. I should have more of a relaxing facial experience. But anyway, they make good products though, Mario Badescu. But so if I do ever get a facial, it's like I go in and I say to the lady, can you do something about my pores? And she's like, no, unfortunately, I can't. Like, you're born with the pore size. Sorry, as you get older, like they get larger. We can't do anything. But this mask, when I use this mask, it shrinks my pores. I'm not kidding. You gotta check it out. Okay, so I think with every episode, right, we're doing questions from the audience. So a few of my TikTok girlfriends, they sent in some questions. I pick them at random. I do my best to answer them. So 2 questions. Question 1. I have 2 boyfriends after my divorce. Why not, right? So she's asking me if she should have 2 boyfriends after the divorce. Of course you should. Of course you should. How long were you married for? I don't care if you were married for 2 minutes or 25,000 years. I think you should have all the boyfriends after you. Why shouldn't you have a hoetation? Why shouldn't you have it? I talked about this on TikTok once. Apparently the word hoetation is like has been said before, but I felt like I invented it one day. Isn't that funny? You're like, I invented this. I invented the spork, and you're like, no, you didn't. Like, we had sporks in elementary school. Crazy girl. But I woke up and I was like, I'm gonna have a hoetation, and it was like a rotation of men, like my man hose. I didn't do it, but like I thought of the idea. Why shouldn't you have a hoetation? Really, I think that if you gotten divorced, whether it's a good divorce or a bad divorce, you deserve to have some fun. You need to go into a slutty phase. I just did TikTok about that today. You slutty phase. Get whatever. Have a great time. And I think that like a lot of guys do this. What's so funny to me about guys? I feel like you're going to agree with this. Hear me out on this. I said to someone I was dating, oh, how many girlfriends have you had? And he said 4. He was I don't know, maybe he was like 45 years old. And he said, 4 girlfriends. And I was like, oh, okay, that's great. So they were all like pretty significant relationships. And he's like, yeah. Then as we were dating, he'd refer to all these broads he went around with, this girlfriend, that girlfriend. So I said to him one time, I thought you only had 4 girlfriends. And it's like, oh, they're all kind of my girlfriends. It's like I had 4 big relationships, but I really refer to them all as girlfriend. So what he was doing was he had his whole hoetation calling all of them his girlfriend. F you. So you know what? You go on and get your 2 boyfriends after your divorce. And I don't even know if you need to tell him, but if just fuck it. I would just fucking do whatever you want. Have a great time. Who cares? If you've been through divorce, you know it's a ringer. And even if not, by the way, if you're coming from one of these relationships where you've been dating for a long time, or the guy's a horror, go out and have 100 boyfriends. I love that. So question 2. At work, I've been passed up for a promotion for years now. What do you think I should do? So I don't talk about this on TikTok ever because I'm always afraid if I talk about my job, I'm going to get fired. So I can't really talk about my job. But I have a corporate job, and I have to mask my accent, which is like, so around the office, I talk like this, which is so fucked up, but I do because I can't, because they'll fire me if I sound like I just crawled out of Fresh Kills, the closed landfill from Staten Island, and I'm from Staten Island, so I could say that. But anyway, but I do have a corporate job, and I was always really ambitious, and through the years, I always tried to work myself up the ranks, and there was a lot of times that I didn't get the promotions or the raises that I felt like I should get, and I, though, was funny if I was going for a promotion or a raise, like say 2 years in a row, and I didn't get it, I left my job. And I'm not saying, and I'm not necessarily saying you should leave your job, because on your resume, you don't want to be a jumper. You don't want to have, job for 2 years, job for 1 year, job for 6 months, another job for 2 years, because they're not stupid, these HR people. They know that you're just chasing for the salary. You jump from a thing, or you have an issue, you just keep losing your job. So I'm not recommending that, but I did do that. If I went for something for a couple of years and I really didn't get it, and I felt like there was some sort of injustice, like, Susie in the cube next to me got the raise, and I know because I heard her on the phone with her grandmother, and I didn't, like, I just started looking quietly. So I think it depends. My question to you, I would like throw it back to you, kind of like, how long have you been at this job? Do you love this job? Do you feel like you have a work family with this job? Do you feel comfortable, like when you go there and you have your little like cute, like sand zen thing on your desk, and you have all your stickers around your computer, and you're comfortable there? Like, do you like it? Do you love what you're doing? If you love what you're doing, maybe a promotion's like not the end of the world not to get it, right? But if you're not like head over heels for your job that you're doing in the now, and you have your eye on the prize of a bigger job, and you keep getting shot down for it because you say, I've been passed up for a promotion for years now, I think you probably should start looking around quietly. Not now, though. Not now in COVID time, because nobody should be looking around in COVID time. If we all have a job, we got to hold on to it for dear life and prove yourself. Even if you've been there for a long time, and they're a valued employee. I feel like in this time you have to work even harder, because jobs are so valuable, and there's so many Americans that are unemployed. It's terrible. It's really, really terrible. So I would say, if it's not COVID time, I would advise you to look around. But during this time, and I would say probably for the next year or two, I would probably keep a low profile and drop the promotion thing. But anyway, okay. So we're closing out with the quote of the day. I love this quote. Katie Couric, she's so cute. She's on the news and everything. Anyway, she has this nice quote. Listen to this. You can't please everyone, and you can't make everyone like you. And I love that. You can't please everyone, and you can't make everyone like you. That's a great quote, right? Like, how many times are we trying to make people like us in the workplace, or that guy, you're trying to make him like you. Why don't you like me? Maybe if I dress more like a gothic, girl, you'll be more intimate. No. There's someone for everybody, or there's groups of people for everybody. I love that quote. Anyway, so that's all for today's episode of the Elyse DeLucci Show. Thank you for listening. Please make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your mother. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, the Elyse DeLucci Show, or on Spotify, the Elyse DeLucci Show, so you never miss an episode. And by the way, listen to it on the way to work. If you're cooking in the kitchen, put it on. It's like I could be like your neighbor. It's like you could pretend you live in Manhattan and I'm your neighbor, and we got our windows open and we're talking. But anyway, stay tuned. Stay tuned for next week's episode. If you want more, you want more Elyse, which is hilarious to me because I was bullied growing up. Who wants more Elyse? But if you want to talk to me more, I'm on Instagram. I'm not like so huge on Instagram. You can follow at Elyse DeLucci on Instagram. You can go to my website, ElyseDeLucci.com. I never update it. Or you can follow me on TikTok at Elyse DeLucci, and I post TikToks all day long. So anyway, thank you for listening to Thank you for listening to me. I love you, and I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.